Okay. Let's start off with my first reader reading Enoch 82, 2 through 4, please.
I have given wisdom to you, to your children, and to those who shall become your children, in order that they may pass it in turn to their own children and to the generations that are descending. All the wise ones shall give praise, and wisdom shall dwell upon your consciousness. They shall not slumber, but be thinking. They shall cause their ears to listen, in order that they may learn this wisdom, and it shall please those who feast on it more than good food. Blessed are all the righteous ones. Blessed are those who walk in the street of righteousness, and have no sin like the sinners in the computation of the days in which the sun goes its course in the sky. It, the sun, comes in through a door, and rises for 30 days together with the chiefs of the thousands of the orders of the stars, together with the four which are added, to determine the intervals within the year, that is, the intervals between the 4 seasons of the year. Those that lead them along come in on 4 days.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So we see that Enoch is saying, blessed are those who walk in the street of righteousness, who have no sin like the sinners in the computation of the days in which the sun goes its course in the sky. And he begins to speak about 4 days that were added to the calendar to determine the intervals within the year. That is, the intervals betwixt the seasons. So hereby we learn that the 4 days which determine the intervals or seasons within the year, the Zadokite priests actually called them the Peguim. Peguim comes from the root word pegu, which speaks to like a notch, to notch something. And so these are considered like the 4 notches, of the year, which we call the 4 seasons. So they act onto the calendar kind of like a leap day. Well, you guys heard of leap year, so yeah, kind of like a leap day. Enoch continues on to warn us not to forget these 4 days elsewhere in his writings. Hence, the Zadokite priests acknowledged these 4 days by instituting them as days of observance along with special offerings. Therefore, you'd find an extra psalms to read on these days in addition to their dates being emboldened in blue along with a leap day pick. Now, I'm sorry, I should have probably stated from the beginning, we're continuing on with our overview of the calendar, the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar. And so we're picking up where we left off last week, and we're doing this overview, of the calendar. I'm still trying to find a place to actually print it, but this is how it'll be when I get it printed, and I'll get it to you ASAP. So talked about how it's noted in the calendar with a pick of a leap day. That's what the pick is going to look like. As you can see, it says leap day, and this is actually, and you see it's emboldened. You can see the contrast from it being emboldened versus non-emboldened, the 30 versus the 31. And so this is how you'll be able to recognize them in the calendar. It will be on the leap day. And besides, it's a 31st day, and only those leap days are 31st days. So the pattern throughout the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar is 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31. All right, now the Book of Jubilees also teaches that the following day after these 4 Peguim or seasonal days, that is the new month day that follows them, the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, and the 10th months, are also days of remembrance, which played a significant role during the flood, in which they became what they call days of remembrance. And we can find this in Jubilees 6, verses 23 through 28. Our next reader, please.
And on the new month of the first month, and on the new month of the fourth month, and on the new month of the seventh month, and on the new month of the 10th month are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons in the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. And on the new month of the first month he was bidden to make for himself an ark. And on that day the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. And on the new month of the 4th month, the mouths of the depths of the abyss beneath were closed. And on the new month of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the new month of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. And on this account he ordained them for himself as feasts of a memorial forever, and thus are they ordained.
Hallelujah. So we see that these days had special significance during the time of Noah while he was on the ark. You know, in the first new month, he was bidden to take for himself an ark, and on that day, the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. And on the beginning of the 4th month, the mouths of the depths of the abyss were closed, and on the new month of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abyss of the earth were open, and on the new month of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. And on this account, he ordained them for himself as feasts for a memorial forever. You know, and so, you know, following the Peguim days in the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar are what they call the days of remembrance. These are known as the days of remembrance, and on these days, they also read an extra psalm or gave an extra offering, you know, and the psalms that they read during these 4 days are as follows: Psalms 119, 135, 136, but 136 had the following verses from Psalms 118 added to its ending. They added Psalms 118:1, verse 15 and 16, verses 8 and 9, and verse 29. You know, were added to the end of Psalms 118. And then finally Psalms 145. And so they would read one per day of remembrance. You know, and so in the calendar you'll find on these days there is an extra Psalms to read. You know, so this would be one of the days of remembrance. It would be represented by an emboldened red numeral, as you see here. And then it has one for the daily psalm for in the month 4. The psalms, there were, you have one daily psalm for each day of the quarter, you know, so basically you're just going through Psalms 91, 30, and 31 is 91, and so it begins at Psalms 1 and it goes to 91. And seeing that this is the first day of the cycle, you read Psalms 1, and then you would read Psalms 123 because it's also the first day of the month, because it's a new month. And then you would read 135 because it was also a day of remembrance. And so this is how it's typified in the calendar. You know, so you'll be able to discern, you know, which days are the days of remembrance. All right, now within the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar, they also noted when the full moon and the sliver, or what they termed FOG, you know, FOG stood for finger of God, you know, and that's what they refer to the sliver as. You know, so within their calendar, they noted when the full moon and when the sliver occurred within their solar months. They recognized the moon as a heavenly sign and utilized it to bear witness as to where they were in the 6-year cycle of their solar calendar. By noting when the full moons and slivers occurred within the solar months, it created a very good check and balance system, one which allows us to determine where we are in the cycle, even if for some reason we lost track of time and had to start from scratch. Say, you know, we was like those of Gilligan's Island, and you know, and we got shipwrecked and woke up on a stranded island, we could still be able to keep Yah's Moedim. We could still figure out, you know, where we were on his timetable. Amen. You know, and we would still be able to figure out where we were on this timetable, even if we had to start from scratch. We could not only keep Yah's Moedim, but we could also determine, without a doubt, where we were in the 6-year cycle. So we'll be able to keep his Moedim. We'll even know where we were in the cycle. The full moons as well as the slivers are noted in the calendar with pigs. So this is the picture for the sliver, the FOG, the finger of God. You know, and this is the picture that represents the full moon. You know, you can see the full moon, and you can see the sliver in the picture for the FOG, the finger of God. You know. Yeah, you gotta say it like that. God. All right. Now, the counting of the Omer, as well as the various other Pentecosts, are indicated with a pick and a purple number in the lower right-hand corners where applicable. You know, so where it's counting down to the wheat harvest, you know, you'll see a little sheaf of wheat in the corner. Where it's counting down to the first fruits of the wine harvest, you'll see a picture of some grapes. And the countdown to the first fruits of olives is represented by a little picture of an olive branch. And so, and next to it would be a purple number, which represents where you are in the count. Okay? So, Torah and or Zadokite priests mandated days in which we're to assemble on, which are okay for us to work on, are noted in the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar with emboldened blue type. You know, so if it's a Torah or Zadokite's mandated day, you know, in which we're to assemble on, but it's okay for us to work on, you know, then it's noted with emboldened blue type. You know, such as the Peguim days. You know, this is something that was instituted by the Zadokite priests, or it's in their calendar. These are days that they kept, but there's no Torah mandate, you know, for it. You know, but rather it's a Torah mandate or a Zadokite instituted day that's going to be represented by emboldened blue type. Now, the Moedim, or appointed times, which are no work days, are noted throughout the calendar with double emboldened type and underlining. So if you see something that's double emboldened and underlined, that means it is a no work day. If it's just emboldened in blue type, then, you know, yes, we're to assemble, but it is not a non-work day. You know, so again, the Psalms readings within the heavenly calendar represent the spiritual sacrifices that the priests and the Levites will present to Yah during that particular day in the form of praise and or prayer. You know, just as you read about in Torah that they had a daily sacrifice, you know, there was a morning sacrifice and an evening sacrifice. Well, along with those physical sacrifices, they would have the Levites either sing or read these psalms, you know, as an offering, a spiritual offering unto Yah. You know, and when they got ousted from the temple, you know, they weren't doing the physical sacrifices anymore. They were only doing the spiritual sacrifices, i.e., the reading of psalms and, you know, prayer and praise. You know, so now, if you want to offer Yah a morning sacrifice, you can be on accord with the Zadokite priests, with as they believe the angels in heaven as well that also keep these, offer these same spiritual sacrifices. So again, the Psalms readings, they represent those spiritual sacrifices, and they're indicated on the calendar. You'll see the Psalms reading. Now that said, please be advised that during the high days, that is unleavened bread, Shavuot, and Sukkot, the following additional Psalms were read: Sirach 51, Apostrophe to Zion, as well as Psalms 93, 141, 133, and 144, and in that order. But there was no room to insert them into the calendar. So around that time, maybe we'll remind you of what these Psalms are, or we'll definitely read them here, during service, but we'll also remind you in case you want to do them at home, and we'll try to get copies of Apostrophe to Zion, or let you know where you can locate it, as well as, and Sirach was included in the King James, original version of King James 1611 authorized version, which included the Apocrypha. Sirach would have been in there, and it would have been chapter 51. Yeah. In the Apocrypha, the King James version with the Apocrypha. Now, here's a illustration of the olive branch, with a couple olives hanging off of it, as I was speaking of. And you have the work days, which are double emboldened and underlined. See how the new month is underlined, and Pentecost is double emboldened and underlined. So letting you know that, hey, these are no work days. And like the leap day here at the end of month 6, 631 in y'all's Dead Sea Scroll calendar. See, there is no underlining, so it is, even though we assemble, it is not a non-work day. Got it? All right. And of course, this is the 7th month, and it is one of the days of remembrance, and so you see it in golden, and it's in red, and this is the way it'll be on the calendar. And you have the high days represented by pigs. You have Feast of Trumpets, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, the Great Day, and so you'll see all this on the calendar, and you have the extra Psalms readings for those particular days that had extra psalm readings, extra offerings as well. Now, as aforementioned, there isn't a way of keeping the solar calendar's Sabbath in alignment with the Gregorian seventh-day calendar. It's just not possible. Just kind of like your birthday will float through the days of the week, so also will Yah's solar calendar Sabbath float through the days of the Gregorian week. Therefore, we can't expect that after this year Yah's Sabbath to be in accordance with the therefore, we can expect that after this year Yah's Sabbath, in accordance to the Zadokite calendar, will not continue to be on the Gregorian day of Saturday. It will move to another day within the Gregorian weekly cycle. Actually, it will go to a Monday. Now, it is also worth mentioning that you will not find the Jewish holidays of Purim and Hanukkah on the Zadokite priestly calendar. Right. They did not keep these man-made days. Lastly, the pictures and scripture verses atop months 8 through 12 of the calendar are meant to adhere to a theme of us picking up our torture stakes or crosses if you prefer, and following our Mashiach Yahushua into the fullness of the Father's plan for he and us. You know, and the verses included within the picks are meant to expound on that particular notion. So this would be month 12, and actually there's a part of it missing. I don't know what happened to it. Yeah. But what was supposed to be there is on day 5, it would have been Rosh Hashanah. It's gonna occur on day 5. I don't know why it's not there, but it's not. I'm sorry. All right, so as I was speaking concerning the pictures, you know, this is one of the pictures, like from months 8 to 12. You know, it starts out with the tabernacle, and there's a theme to the pictures. So when you're looking at the calendar, you know, you can know that there is a theme, you know, that I'm trying to invoke or plant a seed in your mind, you know. So, you know, you see the tabernacle, and then you have these verses: Amos 9, 11, Acts 15, 16, 1 Chronicles 15, 16, 27 through 28. They are not arbitrarily chosen, neither are the pictures. So we're going to talk about them a bit, you know. So you have a picture of the tabernacle, and Amos 9:11 says, "In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old." And the other passage was Acts 15:16, which likewise says, "After this I will return and build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down. I will build again the ruins thereof. I will set it up." You know, and one of the things that I'm pointing out with this is that this is precisely what Yah is doing in our day and time. See, because if you think about it, what was the difference betwixt the tabernacle of David and the tabernacle of Moshe? The only difference is that David instituted the praise. He instituted the praise. David is the one accredited for writing most of the Psalms. You know, the Psalms for every day of the year. The Psalms for every new month. The Psalms for every Shabbat. You know, and this is where these came from largely. You know, and with the information, we never even knew that these things, you know, was even in this fashion. We always had the Psalms, but we didn't really know what they were for. You know, so the first time in 2,000 years, we know what they're for again. We know how to utilize them. Can you not see that this is Yah building up the ruins of the tabernacle of David? Can you not see that this is him closing up the breaches thereof? He's raising up the ruins. He's closing up the breaches. You know, we would not know this information had it not been for the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which was miraculous in and of themselves, because they were discovered at the same time that Israel was becoming a state. I know, but that's just coincidence, right? Also, we have 1 Chronicles 15:16. It says, "And David spake to the chief of the Levites to appoint their brethren to be the singers with instruments of music, psalteries, and harps and cymbals sounding by lifting up the voice with joy." See, David is the one that instituted the praise into the service of the tabernacle and the temple. It started with the tabernacle that he instituted, but it continued on with the temple that Solomon would build, as well as the second temple. All the way up to the second temple period, they were doing this. This was an official part of the offerings to Yah. So if he's truly raising up the tabernacle of David, you cannot do so without the praise. You cannot do so without the spiritual sacrifices that King David instituted. And now for the first time in a couple millennia, we actually know what they were. You know, so now you don't have to guess it, man, what should I be praying about? How about lifting up the daily sacrifice of song? So we have 1 Chronicles 15, 27 and 28. It says, and David was clothed with a robe of fine linen, and all the Levites that bear the ark, and the singers, and Kenaiah, the master of the song with the singers, David also had upon him an ephod of linen. Thus all of Israel brought up the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah with shouting, and with the sound of the cornet, and with the trumpets, and with the cymbals, making a noise with psalteries and harps. Did we not just read not too long ago Psalms 100 where it says, make a joyful noise, all ye lands, to come before Yah's presence with singing? This is exactly how King David brought the ark into the tabernacle. And if you consider that we today, our flesh bodies are supposed to be the tabernacles of Elohim, now you are able to see how you can get the presence, the ark, the presence of Elohim into the tabernacle. You can only do it with praise. You have to come before his presence with singing. Hallelujah. You know, so truly, in this day and time, he is raising up the tabernacle of David, which has been fallen, closing up the breaches thereof. Okay, in the next month, month 9, you'll see there's a picture of the altar. You know, so the first picture was a tabernacle, and now, you know, I'm kind of showing you like what when you walk up on the tabernacle, what are you going to see? What are you going to run into? The first thing that you're going to encounter is going to be the brazen altar. Now, we all know what goes on the brazen altar, right? Sacrifices. But take note, we do have some verses up there. Romans 12, 1 and 2. Which says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto Elohim, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohim. What is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of Elohim? See, he wants us to still offer sacrifices, but spiritual sacrifices. He wanted us to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice. This is why I have a picture of the altar. Not so that you can go and find some defenseless sheep, but so that you can get atop this altar and let Yah consume, because Yah is a consuming fire. Let him consume all your flesh that is not of him. That's the reason that's there. And our Messiah, Yahshua, lets you think this is just something that Paul instituted. He said something very similar. He said in Matthew 16, 24 through 26, it says, then said Yahushua unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross or torture stake and follow me. See, this walk in following Yahshua is not supposed to be a cakewalk. It's not supposed to be all fun and games. You know, I know that's what was oftentimes purported, but that's just simply not the truth. You see right here, Yahshua is saying, if you're going to come after me, you have to deny yourself. That means you have to become a living sacrifice. You have to take up your torture stake. That means that you're going to have to suffer. Your flesh is going to have to suffer. You know, just like when he got up on that torture stake, he wasn't having a party. He wasn't having a good time. His flesh was suffering. When that sheep was put on that altar, that flesh was being consumed. That was not an easy thing for the sheep to go through. We're called to be the flock of Elohim, the sheep. It's about time we get on the altar of sacrifice. It's about time we let Yah's consuming fire consume that which is not of him. You know, it's about time we pick up our torture stakes and follow Yahushua. If verse 25 goes on to say, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. And whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? For what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? See, you have to understand, when you look around you, you look at society, everyone is doing the same thing. Everyone is doing the exact same thing. Everyone is working for a living. Why? They're working because they need to get material wealth in order to pay their bills. See, but this is a system that's set up by Satan. You know, and even though he puts all this importance on these things, Yah doesn't.
Right.
And if we're going to follow after him, we're going to have to emphasize what he emphasized. We're going to have to deem important what he deems important. You know, and sometimes, you know, that's not gonna look like, you know, riches and fame. Sometimes that's gonna look like suffering through. Sometimes that's gonna look like, you know, going without. Sometimes that's gonna look like denying your flesh. Sometimes that's gonna look like mortifying your members daily. But if you get it right, it's gonna all the time look like holiness. It's going to always look like righteousness. See, that's the way that it's supposed to look. You know, and this is what the goal is in following our Messiah. It's to be even as he was, clean and holy. You know, so that's how we get there, is by getting on that altar and allowing Yah's consuming fire to burn away the parts of our lives that is not of him. You know, if it's something that's getting in the way of you serving him, then it's just that, in the way. You know, you need to let his consuming fire consume that. You don't want anything to get in the way of you and him. The next picture you'll find is the brazen laver. You know, so if you're coming through the gates of the tabernacle, you're going to first run into that brazen altar, then you're going to run into the brazen laver. See, and this is where the priests were to wash. It was filled with water. The interesting thing about this laver, though, when Solomon first made it, it was made from all the mirrors of the camp. I always thought that was a very interesting tidbit. You know, very interesting and revelatory. You know, no pun intended. You know, but it was made from mirrors. So when you look in it, you see yourself. You know, and as long as you see yourself, you should keep washing. You want to keep washing until you look in the mirror and you see Yahshua looking back. So as long as you keep seeing yourself, you know you still got some more cleansing to do. Amen? Amen. Now we have a series of scriptures up there that speak to this. The first one is Ephesians 5:26 and 27. It says that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. That he might present it to himself, a glorious ecclesia, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. You know, see, this is how you sanctify yourself, is by the washing of the water by the word. You have to cleanse yourself with the word. Well, you say, Pastor Obadiah, how do I cleanse myself with the word? Okay, well, when you're looking into the mirror of the word and you see something in your life that doesn't align with it, you take that word and you wash away that thing that's in the way. You wash away that filth that's not aligning with the word. That's how you do that. You know, Yochanan 15:3, you know, the Messiah would tell his disciples, now ye are clean through the word, which I have spoken unto you. See, it's Yahshua's commandments, words, and sayings that will help cleanse us, that will cleanse us, you know, if we adhere to them. Yes. You know, this is how we're cleansed. This is how we're cleansed. Now I want you to take note that both the brazen altar and the brazen laver are two types of purification. Some things have to go through the fire to be clean, such as metals. Other things that couldn't withstand the fire had to go through the water to be clean. But when you go through the fire and the water, the end result is you're going to be clean. And that's the whole purpose. Because you can't go any further except ye be clean. 1 Kephas 1:22 and 23. Seeing ye have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Ruach. See, just because you have the word, you're not made clean. You have to actually utilize it. You know, how do you utilize it? By obeying it. This is what purifies your souls. This is what sanctifies you. You know, even as Yochanan 17:17, thy word is truth. It will purify your soul. It will cleanse you. But you have to obey it. So again, 1 Kephas 1:22, seeing ye have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Ruach, unto unfeigned love of the brethren, see that ye love one another with a pure heart fervently, being born again, not of corruptible seed, but of incorruptible, by the word of Elohim, which liveth and abideth forever. Hallelujah. You know, this is what we have to do. We have to get on this altar. We have to cleanse ourselves in the water of the word. Psalms 119:9, you know, lest you think that this is just a New Testament concept. It is not. Psalms 119:9, wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed thereto according to thy word. Can't you see the way that you are to cleanse yourself is with the water of the word? Thank you. The next picture you're going to see is going to be that of a mock-up of the holy place. Now, in the holy place, you had three things. You had the table of showbread, in which the daily bread was put on the table. See, now you know what that daily bread was. It was the word of Elohim, but now you know specifically which word of Elohim, because we have within the Dead Sea Scrolls a daily bread of Psalms, do we not? Yes. You know, so the Messiah taught us to pray, you know, give us this day our daily bread. There is bread in the Psalms. Now, bread in Scripture always represents typified teachings and instructions. There are teachings and instructions within the Psalms. Yes. You know, and, you know, it's kind of like a treasure trove. You know, you really have to really get into them. You know, that's why sometimes they say, Selah. Because, you know they deep. So they say, Selah, think about it. You know, don't just run past this. Pause. Think about this. Meditate on it for a while. You know, so in the holy place, you had that table of showbread where that daily bread was placed, which the priests were commanded to eat. You know, and then over south of it, you had the golden menorah, the lampstand, the light. The light. This is the light of Elohim. And then right before the Holy of Holies, you had the golden altar of incense. You know, and so, you know, but you can't even get here until you clean. You got to be clean and holy before you can even get in there. So if you didn't do your thing right at the altar and at the brazen laver, you can't even get through here. You know, and if you wasn't recognized and accepted to go in, there was someone guarding the gateway into the holy place, and they were willing to kill you if you proceeded. So you have to make sure you're clean and holy, amen? That you're sanctified, you're set apart of Yah in order to get into the holy place. Yochanan 6:32-36 says, Then Yahushua said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moshe gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of Elohim is he which cometh down from heaven and giveth life unto the world. Not just unto Israel per se, but unto the world. Then said they unto him, Adonai, evermore give us this bread. And Yahushua said unto them, I am the bread of life. Hallelujah. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. But I said unto you that ye also have seen me and believeth not. You know, and there's plenty of people today who have seen him but believeth not. You know, oh, wait a minute, Pastor Obadiah, what you talking about? Who's seen Yahshua? He's been dead for 2,000 years. Well, I beg to differ. Because when I read the story, it says that he was resurrected. It says that he's seated at the right hand of the Father. Amen? You know, I don't know. I'm just fool enough to believe what the word says. You know, in Yochanan 1:1, it tells me that in the beginning was the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. So I guess I'm just stupid because when I see the Word, I think I'm looking at Elohim. Amen? I think I'm looking at the Most High El. I think I'm looking at Yahshua himself. Amen? The first begotten of Elohim. So I say, even as the Messiah said then, that ye also have seen him, and some of you still don't believe. Hello, somebody. No, I'm stepping on some toes right now. Yochanan 8:12. Then spake Yahushua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. How many of you know that if you're walking somewhere, you need to be able to see where you're going? You know, we're in a wilderness experience. We're on a journey through a wilderness. It's dark in the wilderness. You need to be able to see so you don't stumble over some rocks. See, because, you know, you can't stumble over the rock, but you can stumble over some rocks. See, the rock will stop you dead in your tracks. You'll know that you reached it because it's so big and great. But a rock will trip you up. He says he's the light of the world. And truly he is. When in Revelations we see it speaks of him as standing in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. Is that not the menorah? It speaks of the 7 golden candlesticks as the 7 churches of Elohim. It speaks of each candlestick having its own angel bringing forth light unto that particular church. Amen? Yahshua is the light. He's the light of the world. Now, if those churches are supposed to be the light, you know, because Yahshua is seated at the right hand of the Father, the only thing that we have are those churches in the world. They supposed to be that light. And if we're supposed to be a part of the ecclesia, if we're supposed to be those churches, then we need to be spreading light. If we're not spreading light, something wrong. That's right. Hallelujah. That's what a candlestick is made for. It's made to spread light, is it not? So that folks don't have to walk in darkness. Psalms 141, 1 through 3, Yahuwah, I cry unto thee, make haste unto me, give ear unto my voice when I cry unto thee. Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. Set a watch, O Yahuwah, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. See, this is what the brazen golden altar represents. It represents your prayer. See, when you go into the holy place and you get your daily bread, you get your word for the day. Then you look over to the left at the menorah, and you're supposed to get light for that word. Light represents understanding. So you eat the word of Elohim, you get light or understanding of that word, then you do that word. You know, and when you move forward, then you start to see it's not just about you. But it's about the whole body of Messiah. And then you drop to your knees and you begin to intercede for your loved ones and for the other ones of the body of Messiah. You begin to send up incense in the form of prayer. And Yah willing to be a sweet Savior unto our Master's nostrils. Amen. The last picture in the calendar you'll see is a picture of New Jerusalem. See, because when you get past the golden altar, there's only one other place that you can go, and that's the Holy of Holies. See, but when we get to the Holy of Holies, it's not going to be the Holy of Holies, of the Tabernacle. It's going to be the Holy of Holies of the universe. That is New Jerusalem, which is going to descend upon the earth. And this is where we're going to reside. We're not just going to stay there. We're going to reside there. To reside means a permanent dwelling place. Amen. It means we're going to be there. We're not leaving. And to encourage you to continue to strive to get to this end point, I put these passages. Yochanan 14:2-4. Our Messiah says, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would not have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. I don't care if I just have a shack in New Jerusalem. I'll be happy with a shack, Just give me a sukkah up in New Jerusalem, I'll be happy for that. Verse 3, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. And whither I go ye know, and the way ye know. Now after he said this, Thomas would ask him, well, how do we know? We know because the way is his word. The way of Elohim is entailed within his word, within Yahshua's commandments, words, and sayings. We can follow him all the way to the pearly gates. Right. He's preparing a place for you. But let's pray that we're worthy of that place. Yes. Let's pray that when we get there that we're allowed entrance. Let's pray that we don't see what would have been ours. Amen? Amen. We know the way. We have the word. We're supposed to be the most mature believers the planet has ever seen. Because we have the most word than ever before. So we're supposed to be the most advanced, mature believers that the world has ever seen. So I implore you to start, reaching for that goal to be just that. Because the Messiah, he's preparing a place for some of us. Well, I guess he's preparing a place for all of us. But some places he's preparing, you may not want to go. We want to make it to New Jerusalem. Ephesians 2:19-22 says, now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners. See, that's what we want to hear. But fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of Elohim, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Yahushua Mashiach himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto a holy temple in the Adonai, in whom ye also are builded together for an habitation of Elohim through the Ruach. Don't you know that our Messiah, Yahushua, the Prince of Peace, is even as Solomon, who was the Prince of Peace, who built the temple of Elohim, except for our Messiah is building one made without hands. Amen. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. He's building one that's made without hands. He's building a whole city for the habitation of Elohim. And this is the citizenship that we want to have. We want to get our New Jerusalem passports. Yeah. We want to be allowed safe entrance into New Jerusalem. We truly want to become fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of Elohim. Yes. That is the end goal. Don't lose sight of it. Yeshayahu, Isaiah 65:17-19. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth. And the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind, but be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're trying to accomplish. That is the end goal. And that's all I have for you today. Pray was a blessing. Hallelujah.